Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. Give me a minute. Thank you all for being here today. I just wanted to give you a warm welcome. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how easy it is for us through all of the things that are happening in our lives that seems that show up like crisis, how easy it is for us to begin to forget who we are, what we are. After all of us, in essence, are co-creator with God. We are divine essences that have now descended the dimensional scale or experiencing an earthly in the earthly experiment. So it is, and in the process of this descent, there has been a lot of fracturing, because if you are a multi-universal being to begin with, for you to incarnate and limit yourself to one universe, you have to let go of quite a bit of you have to release and let go of a lot of things that were true to who you are. And as you cascade even further down from being a universal being to being limited to a very specific galaxy, a very specific quadrant of space, a very specific dimension, a very specific. So as we keep stepping down, we keep shattering and letting go of so much of who we are, that it is a wonder that we can find our way back. However, there is Dr. Stone used to call them the indestructible atoms. There is a part of us that knows the truth. There's a part of us deep inside of us that doesn't die, that's immortal, that remembers the essence of who we are. And it's never a knowing, like an intellectual knowing, although right now they are crystalline and rainbow children that are being born. Some of them have full memory, they remember who and what they are. But the reason for this is because of all the work that people like you and I have done so far to prepare the way to break the 3D matrix enough for them to incarnate with a partial memory. So the thing that happens is that you spend a lot of time trying to, it's like there's a part of you that keeps saying that something is not right. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing what is expected of me. I'm supposed to, listen to my family, grow up to be a good citizen, a good human being. I'm supposed to get married, have kids, do this, get a profession, work for, 30 years, retire, go to a sunny spot, and be ready for my passing. There is a part of us that knows that something is not right. This is what I call the imposter syndrome, that you're walking around watching your life and watching your existence and watching everything that you're doing because you have responsibilities and thinking to yourself, something is wrong. Now, if you remember, and I'm going to, if you can remember to the point where you were younger, where you had no care in the world and you would get up and start running around and play and run in the woods, or play marble, or play soccer or football, or play with dolls, or play pretend, whatever it is that, or trains, or whatever it is that you used to do. There was an incredible freedom that somehow got eroded gradually, but incrementally, as you begin to grow up and so-called become mature, and you end up having responsibility. All of a sudden, you have an apartment, you have a car, you have a house, you have all these notes that you have to fulfill, you have to work, you have to do all these things, and then your life becomes boxed out, really boxed out. And the kind of, and it's not just about the rigidity of the 3D matrix, although it's a great part of it, but it's about trying to find liberation, trying to find freedom, and trying to find a way to step out of the box and to allow the old remembrance of who and what you are to come through and to embody in you. And it's a whole process, and everything that I've been teaching you is kind of like leading to that, in that direction. But I want to talk about this idea that we have slowly and incrementally given up and capitulated, and we have become domesticated into thinking in a very specific, limiting way. So tonight I want to talk about limits versus a state of freedom, abundance, and flow. The difference between the two. The idea that, you know, you expect, I'm going to give you an example. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not pretending to be a doctor, but this is a personal experience that happened to me. A dear friend of mine, actually the president of my company, was dealing with a cancer diagnosis many years ago. And she, every 2 weeks, I think she had to go get chemo. And she looked okay, she looked fine, right? And then after she went, the day of the treatment, she didn't come. The next day she would show up. She showed up one day and she says to me, I think by the second or third round, she was in the 8th round, the 3rd round, she said, oh man. I said, what's the matter? She said, the doctor is telling me. He came up to me and says, you still have your eyebrows? I said, yes. He said, well, you're not gonna have them for long. I'm so bummed, I'm so this and I'm so that. And I literally exploded out. I said, the doctor is not God. Why are you gonna now obligate yourself to believe that by the next round, you're gonna lose your eyebrows? This is, you're creating, it's a predetermined, preconceived expectation that does not have to be. Now, she did recover. She's in full remission. It's many years ago. It's almost 15 years ago. She's fine. Everything is okay. But I can tell you, because of the way I came at her with that false belief, why are you putting this limit on yourself now? Why are you believing this? She had her eyebrow through the entire chemo. So what I'm saying is that if sometimes you need to be shaken out of the belief system because there's a certain kind of expectation. Everybody expects you to do X, Y, Z, and you expect to comply. You're expected to comply. And our entire existence is basically mapped out for us to do certain things and to expect certain conditions as we get old, so-called older, as certain things to happen. None of us are connected to what the mystics are calling conscious immortality. None of us are connected to the idea that we can transcend so many things. We can overcome so many things. That a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is expectation. You know, you can call it the placebo effect, you can call it whatever you want, but if you have a different mindset, it would actually create a different outcome. And I remember that's clearly, and And the reason I said this is that the time before, she said, the doctor said, you still have your hair? And then her hair started falling out 2 days later. This time around, I just yelled at her. I just said, no, it's not going to happen, because it doesn't need to happen. The doctor is telling you what's going to happen, and a few days later, it does happen because you believe that he's God. You're making him your God. No. It's not that the oncologist was not a good man. This is not what I'm saying. He was actually a great doctor, saved her life. Okay? Saved her life. And I'm saying this because I want you to understand the degree to which that we allow figures of authority in our lives the power to censor and to edit. And whereas we as spiritual beings, we as light workers, we as trailblazers are actually bushwhacking a different path. And in order for us to remember who we are, in order for us to create that path, we need to begin to break out some of these limits. We need to overcome some of these boundaries. We need to toss them out altogether and say, this is not the script for me. I declare something new. I declare something else. I am going to transcend this, and I'm going to show up as a different being. I had read a meme on Facebook that says something to the effect that the universe is abundant and filled with endless flow, but we're busy putting limits on that flow. And this is absolutely true. From a universal standpoint, from a God perspective, there is no reason why all of us cannot be abundant. And I mean by that, having all the money in the world that we need to do everything that we want. There is no reason in the world, because abundance is not going back. It's not currency. Abundance is a state of consciousness. It's connected directly connected to you allowing yourself to receive and thinking that you're deserving of accepting this flow. Because if you have limits and boundary and thinking, I'm too small, I grew up in a poor family, we struggle our entire life, therefore I will continue to struggle. If you keep believing in these toxic conversation, they will poison you, and they will make you suffer for no other reason that you grew up in an environment where this happened. And if you grew up in an environment where this was the truth, it is your opportunity to transcend it by implanting in a different mindset, by you realizing that I am not a creature that is limited by anything. And I have to say this to you, I've met, and when I mean about abundant flow, I'm not just talking about money, because abundance is something else. When we're talking about God's abundance and cosmic abundance, it's not about money. I've met people that were very wealthy. And when I was going to graduate school at Columbia, I remember I met several people that were very wealthy, but they were miserly and they were miserable. And I was more in abundance consciousness than them. Although I was a work-study student and I had grants. Because I was very grateful for the fact that a poor kid like me from the Caribbean somehow ended up in a graduate program amongst all of these incredible people. And I was so incredibly grateful for the opportunity. And I saw it as a huge, immense blessing for me. And because I was, and again, the way the flow is created is that when an opportunity presents itself to you, when the universe brings you something, whether it's good health, whether it's a perfect partner, whether it's a perfect opportunity for you to shine, whether it is money, you have to reciprocate toward God, and not just the money, not just the good health, not just the partner, but the fact that the universe, that God has blessed you with this incredible gift. And you have to have deep gratitude, deep and reverent gratitude for the gift received. And if you can be in that state, you will close the infinity loop back, because God does not want that same flow back. The flow is everybody in the universe having it as of right. If you look at nature, the way animals, plants, and all of that exist, when even lions and the big predators, they don't go hunt and bury things and hide them because they're afraid that they're not gonna have, and therefore they hunt only when they're hungry. The rest of the time, for the most time, a lion pride, if they're full, they're not. If you're not bothering them, they're not gonna bother you. They will walk past by you. They don't care. So it's, and they trust that when they need, they will find. Because this is the way the universe goes. That if you trust in the fact that it's not the job, it's not the career, it's not the marketing campaign, it's not what brings the money and the flow in, but it's the connection to the invisible power that's behind all of it. And that invisible power comes directly from prosperity, from the idea of being prosperous and being rich and being abundant. And if you're abundant in one area in your life and you're not abundant in others, you're not in flow. You're hoarding, you're not in flow. You need to check on yourself, because if you're abundant with money and you're not abundant with love, if you're abundant with love and money but you're not abundant in health, there's a blockage somewhere. There's a part of you that's creating limit. There's an editor. There's a sensor that's creating internal limits. The universe wants for you to have all of this, but there is an internal sensor that's clipping all these things out, that's shutting them down. So to find where that sensor is, where that inner voice is extremely important. It is not about money. It is not about how much you have in the bank. It's great to have the money in the bank, and I'm completely accepted from God and the universe in whatever measure that it wants to give it to me. I remember there's a book called The Secret Magic of Abraham the Mage. And in this book, this is a magician from the 14th century that has several rituals on how to do white magic. And one of the operation was to actually ask for a treasure from an angel. And he talks about this idea of flow and how you do this operation. And the idea that you have to connect to a very specific consciousness where you feel deserving of receiving the treasure that you're asking for. Because if you ask for the treasure and you feel undeserving, you're not going to get it. It's not going to manifest. So there is a lot with mindset. There's a lot with the kind of toxic conversation that you may be having, or you have had, or you've witnessed in your entire family. If everyone in your family had to work hard, struggle, and so on and so forth, you will not be accepting work instead of working hard to have work flow toward you. In other words, to work smarter rather than work hard. You will not accept it. So you have to, instead of working hard and working long hours and doing all of these things and putting all, there is a way to work smarter, to do a few hours of work and get more revenue and have more time for yourself to do the other thing that will still keep you in flow and in abundance. Have more time for your spiritual practice, have more time for service, have more time for personal contact with other human beings, have more time. It's not just about the grind and the grind and the grind of doing. It's about you understanding that I am deserving of everything that there is. The work and the making the money is good, but I also deserve to have downtime. I also deserve to sleep well. I also deserve to have good health. I'm also deserving to have joy and happiness. So many people I know who are very wealthy, and again, as I said, I've had clients that are wealthy, but also went to school to people who are very wealthy. And many of them, not all, some of them were very nice people, were in the right consciousness, but a few of them were miserable people because they were not in that consciousness. I remember going to, this is years ago, when I was in my 20s, I went to a friend's penthouse apartment on Park Avenue, and I remember that experience very well. His mother was cuckoo, completely. I won't get into the details. It's such a long story, but she was completely like cuckoo. He was a nice kid. We were friends and all that, but. And by the way, this person that I knew, and we went to mystery schools together, we did all this work together and all that, and he is now a supremacist, a white supremacist, and I didn't know him this way. And I'm wondering the kind of role, because the mother was acting, was hot and cold. I think she was bipolar now in retrospect. And I remember that experience so well that I felt so uncomfortable. I wanted to leave their penthouse. It was a Park Avenue thing, private elevator, all that. And I remember wanting to get out. I'm like, I'm not comfortable here. This woman is on one hand, oh my God, so happy to see you. But in the next moment, she's exploding right in front of us, exploding at the sun, screaming at him for the top of the lung, like he's a demon or some kind. And then turning around and smiling, please, come here, have a seat, sit here, sit. I felt so uncomfortable. I was like, I don't want to be here. It was me and another friend and the son that came to visit. And she welcomed us in the parlor living room that she had. It appeared like everything was initially okay, having normal conversation. And they are blue blood money, and they are one of the richest family in New York. Rich, and they've been rich since the Mayflower. And I was in total shock. But it's very revealing to me, because you think somebody was that wealthy, that they are happy and they are joyous and everything is hunky-dory. The family dynamic, and I don't blame him for who he's become now, because the environment he grew up in was completely unhealthy. In fact, I feel sorry for him to some degree. But that's his karma. He chose that family for a reason. Right? So whatever environment that you're going through, you grew up in, however toxic, unhealthy, suppressed, repressed, emotions were expressed or not expressed, however it showed up for you, understand that your responsibility now as a spiritual being is to transcend all of it, and for you to go back to who you are. Because if you can accept the fact, I love, I was talking to my friend Georgie, the Buddhist priest, and he was sharing with me that some story about Lakshmi. Lakshmi is not just the goddess of money and abundance. She is the goddess of all kinds of knowledge. She is the goddess of bringing healing. She is the goddess of bringing flow in everything whatsoever. It's not just about treasures and gold coins. She is cosmic flow and cosmic abundance, where if you are in the right state of mind, you will be hooked up perpetually to an inlet that will allow flow to move into you, energetically restoring your body, your being, your consciousness, bringing you spiritual knowledge, nourishing you, and you will become the outlet that will release it to the world, because this is the way it works. You cannot keep thinking and hoarding, because if you're not sharing it, it will not remain. You will block the flow, you will block the pipe. So on the one hand, you have to be able, and you cannot transmit so-called flow, because this is what a lot of light workers are doing, a lot of spiritual teachers. And I've done this at times where I'm transmitting and I think I'm connecting the flow, but I'm giving it from myself. I'm like the pelican that's picking out my own entrail, and I'm giving it to people from me. Whereas when you're giving from the cosmos, it's a completely different story. It's completely effortless. And this is the way, when I do celestial light healing, this is where it's come from. I'm not pushing energy on people. I'm not trying to force them into wellness. I'm just allowing, I'm taking them into source, and I'm allowing infinity times infinity. The privilege to fix and repair what is needed. And all I am is a witness to what the universe is doing. Now, if you can do the same thing about everything in your life, if you think of for a moment about an aspect of your life that's blocked right now, whether it is a legal aspect, whether it is a health aspect, whether it is a financial aspect, whether it is, whatever it is that's blocked in your life right now, that you're having struggled with, if you can bring that issue and yourself into source and remove the limits and the boundary thinking, I have to, because the doctors or so-and-so says I have this, that, or the other, I have to do X, Y, Z, and so this procedure and take this medication and do all of this herbal stuff, and you have this narrative that you're running in your head. It is not that these things are not going to hurt or not going to help. I'm not saying not to do them, but I'm saying in addition to them, you need to go into and connect to what is transcendental to this, which is the mindset. What kind of mindset are you in when you're approaching this so-called difficulty or obstacle? What mindset are you in? Do you think it's impossible? Do you think it's hard? It's going to be difficult and arduous? And do you think that the universe, in the blink of an eye, can manifest this to you and bring it to you like this? Because to infinity times infinity, whatever it is that you want is insignificant. It's insignificant. Whether it is some situation with somebody, whether it is money, whether it is health, whether it is happiness, whether it is mental, it doesn't matter. The universe can grant it. What you need to do is that you need to bring the entire burden into source, and you need to release it completely into source. There should be no attachment left in you where you think that you have to do an arduous task to live to do. When you're in that state of consciousness, you have to feel, and when you bring it with no attachment, you also have to feel, I am deserving 3,000,000% I'm deserving of receiving this blessing now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but now. I'm deserving of receiving it. And when you're in that state of awareness, the solution set will be magnetized to you and will ground, and you will find that in the most impossible, miraculous, and extraordinary way, the solution set will be brought to you. It could be when you open your eyes immediately, or it could be in the next few days. You could be getting a phone call, you could be getting, the universe will collapse it, and a wave function collapse will be created to allow you to connect to the solution set. And when the solution set arrive in the most unexpected ways, you have to learn how to say yes and accept it. If it is a money situation and somebody brings you money, say yes, because you just asked for it. If it's health related, somebody comes in with and bring you some sort of healing modality or some sort of herbal concoction or some sort of like medical breakthrough, whatever it is, that say yes. And it could be that you don't even need, if it's a medical, or all of a sudden you go back to the doctor and they check you again. They're like, I don't know what happened. The condition is not there anymore. I've had so many of these things happen in my healing practice. If you're really abundant and you're really in flow, everything in your life should be in flow. Now, I have to be honest with you, I step in and out of this all the time. There are moments where I am in the flow. There are other moments I somehow, the limits come back and get attached to me, and it creeps in. This is where we need to monitor our consciousness and begin to figure out exactly how they are coming in. These limits crept in, and we keep thinking to ourselves, my God, I need to do this, that, or the other. I have to, get the third and the fourth and the fifth job to get this. I have to do this. And really, the universe, if you connect to source and you ask source and you release it, I'm not saying that you may not need to do what you need to do to get the money, but I'm telling you that you need to put God first. Go into the flow, go into infinity times infinity and present it to infinity times infinity, and let God bring to you the solution set that you need. In some instances, the solution set will come instantaneously. I'll never forget, Dr. Stone was talking about, in one of his books, I don't remember which book it was, he was talking about these people who were working with elemental forces. They were gardeners that were working by talking to the fairies, the gnome, the undine, the salamanders, all the elementals. And she wanted to get manure. And she asked him for the manure. And he described it in great detail, what actually happened. And as he the information, these people visualize and release it into source and let go. And what I wanted, because the plant they were talking to, because everything sentient, wanted to have some sort of fertilizer. And this woman was sitting down, imagining this and seeing it so clearly in her mind, and knowing full well that God was here. Then she began to smell the fertilizer strongly. And out of the thin air, a pile of it was sitting right in front of her. Now, and why is that? Because she had released so much of her limit. Because in a normal 3D reality, that's not possible. And if you have all the limit that says it's not possible, it's never going to happen. This woman had done so much work with these elemental and was so close to them. She knew anything was possible. And because she was so sure it was possible, and she was in surrender and connection to them, it manifested right in front of her. I have stories from back home where people have found treasures. And I mean by that gold coins, jars of gold coins. Again, for the same reason where they release limit and they talk to the elemental and say, well, and the next thing you know, the energy tells them, go lift this rock, dig 3 feet. And then the next thing you know, pops out all these gold coins. For that to happen, you have to be in such a complete surrender. Your trust and your faith into the blessed field, the abundant and blessed field, must be so surrendered that you literally, any movement that you make is being guided by that field. Every breath that you're taking is being guided by that field. And when you're in that state of awareness, where the blood flow, the circulation in your body, the field is there, abundantly renewing everything, when you're in that state, you are now in conscious immortality as a state of being. Now, the problem is that you have to maintain it. I have tapped into it at the moment. And after that, it kind of fade away. I allow, I end up having a collision with some sort of 3D experiences where I lost my temper, I'm disconnected, I begin to get angry about something or agitated or in panic, I begin to be afraid, and immediately I get pulled out of it. Death and suffering are the greatest sham that have been ever perpetuated on humanity. So it's up to us to connect to a transcendental state of awareness, a more expansive state where we begin to realize that all of it is an illusion. And if I can remain in that state and remain constant and make this my new default, I will literally win this garment, this flesh garment. When I'm done with it, I will just step out and walk into my luminous body in one instant. Or this physical body will transform into my homo luminous body. Any questions, any comments?
Yes, Pierre, there are layers of this attunement connection to this expanded state that I'm sure are a requirement, not just the desire and the mindset to do that, but is it part of the program then to dig for those programs, the limitations, the barriers, and that without that part, no amount of positive thinking and connecting and so on will work?
Well, the first thing, you're right. The first thing is that you need to do your torsion field on a daily basis. I've already covered that a few weeks ago. I'm reminding you of this. You need to be doing your torsion field on a regular basis, okay? In fact, multiple times throughout the day. You have to allow yourself to be in neutrality to everything so that you're not emotionally reactive. That's a good foundation. But beyond that, you have to begin to think, because we don't know that we're programmed, because we've been domesticated so slowly, incrementally, we don't know that we are. But when you're facing a resistance and a challenge that seems like an insurmountable thing, ask yourself, query yourself and try to ask yourself, where is this belief system coming from? Is it really true that I have to do and then enumerate all the challenges that are in front of you? Is this really true? Or can the universe, can God, can spirit, can the lesser builders, the elemental, can a miracle be manifested for me to bypass all of this? Is this really the only path that I have to go through for me to get to that goal? Or better yet, is there a sidebar that I should also follow along with what I'm doing already to allow an accelerated process to occur for me to get to the end goal? And often something will show up. You will begin to realize that the reason why you're struggling with this person, this situation, or that health condition, it's because of X, Y, Z belief. Now, if the belief feels strong and powerful, almost overwhelming, it is because it's been anchored for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's been there for a very, very long time. And this is where now you have to go in and you have to ask God, ask Spirit, to help take this away from me. Take this cup away from me. Because it doesn't have to be, it's a lie. You don't have to go in and try to deconstruct. You need to be aware of what the resistance is, the false belief that's holding you back, the limitation, and then ask for Spirit to like Chiron, to elevate it, give it a different assignment, elevate it somewhere else, shift it, lift it, banish it, exorcise it, move it somewhere else. Pain and suffering is not something we were, although it's very present in the 3D world, it is nonetheless the illusions. And from a true spiritual standpoint, there is no necessity for it. Anything that we need, infinity time, the infinity and the blessed field can give it to us instantaneously. Now, in one instance, two people facing the same situation, but having different degree of removal of limits, because some people will be more successful. Some people, like this woman I was talking about with the Minot, she removed all of her limits. And the Minot, literally out of the thin hair, she felt something fall to the ground, and when she looked, it was sitting in front of her. She smelled it first very strongly. She removed all of her limits. She believed 300%, if not more, that it was there, it was created, it was in front of her. Some of the people may not be the case. They will see, for example, the shop where they are supposed to go to, or with a cow that they need to take to create the manure. They will see, they will find themselves connected to a process that they have to go through because they have more limits and more boundary and more undeservedness connected to this. Whereas someone else who doesn't have any of these limits, who are completely accepting that the universe, this is how the ascended masters were able to manifest and create things out of the thin air. How do you think water could turn into wine, or the multiplication of the loaf of the fish? This is the way it was done. When you don't have any limit in your consciousness, you just, by the wave of a hand, it manifests, it gets created.
Well, I understand that part is the lifting of those limitations. That's the question that I had.
Yeah. And in all honesty, it's a question of, you have to identify it first. You have to understand where is the resistance, because when it shows up and it feels so overwhelming and so big, it's like, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to have to struggle for this for years and months and incarnation before I can remove this. Whereas if you lean into it and say no, and you know what helps also as well? If you have had other instances where miraculous things have happened for you, okay? It could be in other sectors. Let's say it's you were trying to manifest money, and in other sectors of healing, you have somehow manifested banished pain out of your body. If you know that your body can do this, there is no reason why it cannot manifest the money as well, or vice versa. If you somehow have manifested money out of nowhere, there is no reason why that flow and that abundance cannot translate into you also having good health. So if you're beginning to realize that what's holding this thing back is some sort of false belief inside of me, then start querying your dantian and your interior and try to find where it is, what it is, and what that belief is. And when you see the belief, and the thing that helps, Janice, is that when you see the belief, you have to play out the worst outcome that belief is creating in you. In other words, take it to the point where it's the most vulnerable and you're the most fearful and the most panicked because of that belief. See it in that space. And what's the worst thing if you're sick? That you're going to die? Okay, so see it at that point. What does that death look like? And then when you get to that point, then take the whole thing, do the universal breath and take it to source and say, God, take this cup away from me, because it's an illusion. It's a false belief that I don't need. And one of the things I keep asking my students all the time to do, I did this with you last week, is that when you get to these big beliefs, ask yourself, what need do existed in the past that caused me to believe this? Because it's a false belief. In the universe, there is no, everything is in equilibrium and balance. The universe is perpetually trying to equilibrate and rebalance itself. There is no deficit that we made at perpetuity. Everything is in flow. Everything goes back and forth. So if you're in a state where there is a hole and there's a deficit in you, it's because something is blocked. So if you can connect to whatever that something is and ask what belief, what false belief, or what need, what emotional need created this, caused this false belief to be anchored and grounded in me. If you can find that, then you can offer it to source and say, lift this away from me, take this cup away from me, and let flow be reinstalled in my body, in my life, in my health, in my whatever, you just add on to wherever the pocket of resistance is. If you don't have happiness, if you don't have peace of mind, if you don't have, all of it is connected to the same energy. In the medieval time, they used to call this Fortuna, the goddess Fortuna. In fact, there are operas that were written about this, and literature that were written about Fortuna. It's good fortune. But it's not money. It's the idea, that saying that says, jump and the net will appear. It's that kind of confidence, that kind of certainty. It's the kind of certainty that in the 23rd Psalm, that's when I walk to the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. When you know you're connected to such flow and such power, nothing will touch you, because all the rest is an illusion. So identify first what it is that you're seeing, then query it, and then ask what need may have created this, what emotional need, and then take all of it and offer it to the universe. And when you get there, release it completely. Ask that no part of it remain in you. And if you're doing the universal breath, make sure you do 12 universal breath to make sure all of it goes out. And to the degree that that limit is removed, as you inhale back, the real vibrational frequency and scalar wave solution set will ground in you, and will ground in your life, and will bring you in a very short time the solution set that you desire. And sometimes we don't know the solution set what we desire. In other words, sometimes you may ask for good health, but because you've been ill for so long, you don't know what that good health really looks like. You have no idea what it feels like to be without pain and to have joy and to have a bounce in your step because you feel so good. It's not until that healing gets dropped into your body that you begin to walk around for a few days and you begin to say to yourself, oh my God, I can't believe I was that bad.
I like that image, Pierre. That's a good one.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That has happened to me, where I had something happening and then all of a sudden something inside of me changed. And all of a sudden, I remember one time, it was, and I didn't realize I was that bad. And when I began to feel better because I resolved it with the healing, one day I went to pick up something and I went down the floor, I picked it up and I lifted up and I was like, wait a minute, what just happened? Because whereas before something fell to the ground, I had to negotiate at an angle how I was sliding off the chair or the wall to kind of figure out a way to maneuver myself to pick it up. How did I just bend down and pick it up and get up? I'm like, oh my God, I was that bad. I didn't realize. So when you have these mini victories, you begin to know that the universe can create these things. So when you know the universe can create them, then you connect to them. You can translate it into other parts. And again, I have to remember, I'm like, yes, I have been in that space where now this is lacking in my life, but so many times before, there were lacks that the universe brought me solution set at the very last minute. Now I need another miracle. And it's not miracle, it's actually natural law. Because naturally, none of us should be in lack. Lack is a foreign thing in the universe. Because everything is balanced. And if one side of the equation is out of balance, it's because you're creating a blockage to allow the equilibrium to be restored. It's you that's creating some sort of blockage. part of the blockage for me is the fact that I have to learn how to receive from the universe better. I give too compulsively. And I have to learn how to sometimes say no. And because the moment said they need, immediately I'm like, I'm taking my clothes off. I'm like, here, instead of, because sometimes somebody is going through something, it's their own karma. And they need, through the experience of not having for a moment, learn how to ask how I'm asking to the universe right now. This is why when I'm doing hands-on healing for people, I understand this energetically when I'm doing hands-on healing. I understand that very well. I have to ask for permission, because if I don't have the permission, I can't do it. Permission from the person, permission from the universe. Is it okay if I heal this person? Sometimes the universe says no. I remember people asking me to pray for their family members, etc. And when I asked, the universe said no. This person is dying and is making a choice to leave the planet right now. They don't need to recover. They've made the decision already to leave the planet.
Yeah, that brings in mind then the question, if you're doing a healing, but the person hasn't done the work to release the blockages,
Yes.
will that healing only be a temporary, or how does the healing that you do override that person's blockage to whatever their healing is needed for?
Okay. In an ideal situation, everybody that moves into my table, I should never see them again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? One time I do the healing, I touch them, and that's it, done. But what happens is that because, and we're human beings and we're flawed, and we have all these limits and all this limitation, when the energy touch, and either I will have a vision or they will have a vision. The vision that you see, it's because there's homework to be done. You have limits. So when you see this vision during the healing, either you as the healer or the person who's receiving the healing, it's because, and this is why after every healing, I do a deeper thing where there's a conversation, I try to, if I see something, I send, if I'm doing remote, I will email, text, I will tell you, this is what I'm perceiving, this is what I'm seeing. Or if you're seeing something yourself, this is what you need to work on, right? And it's because there is resistance. But I've said this before, and I'm gonna remind you, I know who will be healed instantaneously. Because when they get off the table, they're like, wow, thank you. This feels so wonderful. Thank you for this. I feel fantastic. And they're accepting of it. But when someone gets off the table and they say immediately, I cannot believe that I don't have the pain in my back anymore. If they cannot believe it, literally in 3 days, the pain is gonna be back. Because in their mind, the pain is their default. I've had both. I've had people who've gotten off the table. I told you, I will share that story one more time with you. I had this woman who came to me that had could not have a period. And she wanted to have more kids. She already had kids, she wanted to have more kids. 2 years of medical tests or whatever, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And she came in, and after 2 hours, while she was on my table, after we spoke first, and then I did a hands-on on her. I coached her first, and then I did a hands-on on her. She had a period on the table. That freaked me out. I have to be honest with you, because I thought I broke her. Okay, I was freaked out completely. And the crazy part about this, she was wearing white jeans. I remember this so well because she literally got up and she grabbed her pocketbook and she went to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept saying, you heal me, you heal me. And I didn't even know what happened to her. Had it not been for Stain, I would not have known. But be that as it may, she was so freaked out. I mean, you're all women here online with me. You know how sensitive a cycle is. It's not something that on a snap of a finger you can come in. For it to begin to flow right then during the healing, extraordinary. And I have to say to you that she was ready. She had done the work. She was ready. It's not me. She was ready to accept it. And the friend that I recommended, she left in 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I got a text from my friend who recommended her. Said, "What did you do to her? She's freaking out." I said, "What do you mean freaking out? Did I do something wrong? I'm so nervous now. You know, I'm like, did I do something wrong?" He said, "No, Pierre, in a good way. You freaked her out." Whereas other clients, sometimes I have to be honest with you. Sometimes during the healing, I would be doing the celestial light healing and touching the person in various part of their body where spirit is guiding me. And in spirit, I could feel it in my body, energetically. Source is saying, telling me they need 3 more sessions for the healing to ground, or they need 4 more sessions. Because their belief system, their limits, is not allowing everything to happen instantaneously. I'm going to give you another example. And Celidia is not on the phone today, but this is something that happened to her. She had gone to Atlanta, this is years ago, for Memorial Day, and she couldn't get a flight back. She was on standby, she couldn't get a flight back. 3rd day, she's attempting, she calls me on the phone. "Could you do something for me, Pierre? Because I'm number 48 on the waiting list, and it doesn't look like the airport is packed. It doesn't look like I'm leaving, I'm getting out of here." And I said, hold on. Let me do a torsion field for you. I must have gotten to maybe torsion field 6 or 7. All of a sudden she said, wait a minute, I gotta go. They're making an announcement. She's asking us to go be seated. I call you back. 10 minutes later, she calls me back. She said, "I don't know what you did, Pierre, but I have to tell you that everyone that was on standby got a seat. And we're taxiing out, and we're going to be in New York in a few hours." I don't know what you did, Pierre, but I'm grateful for it, Bob. And I remember I told her this. I said, "This is the miracle that you were ready to accept." Now, the universe orchestrated it that she not only, because what I was visualizing and I was asking spirit to do on her behalf is for her to be home. I said, "This is what you are ready to accept, is for you to be on the flight so that you can come to New York." I said, "But if you were completely open to any kind of miraculous transformation for you to get home, you would have found yourself standing in front of your doorway instantaneously." And I remember the way she answered. She said, "Oh, no, I would not be able to do that. I would have fainted. If that happened to me, and my heart would have stopped." And that's why you got in the pain. You see what I'm saying? So that to the degree that you're ready to accept, the universe will match it with an experience that you can, that is conceivable to you. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not ready to conceive it and you can imagine it, it will not show up. So yes, you're totally right. The resistance that the person has may be temporary or it may be permanent depending on where they are. Many of my clients have had permanent change. I've had one of the other sessions I did, I've shared that with you in the past as well. A quick reminder, this couple could not have any kids. They did in vitro, didn't work, it didn't take, the fetus got fertilized, put back in, didn't take. Lots of money spent, very painful because it's a very painful procedure, lots of injection and stuff put in your body, a failure. I spent 4 hours with them. I healed them first. They were both in the room, then I healed her. 3 weeks later, about 3 weeks later, I got a phone call and she was on the phone whispering, she's like, I think I'm pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I have to say to you that experience, and I was so happy and so delighted for them. And up to that point, I didn't know I could do this. Okay? I didn't know I could do this. It's that they are my friends and they are in need. And I told both of them, and they've been trying for so long, married for such a long time, trying to figure out a way to have the baby. And then her clock is ticking because she was in her 40s. She wants to have a kid. And I was like, both of you come for healing. And in the, like many things that I'm doing with the healing, my healing practice, many times I don't know that I can do this. But I follow, I yield in my intuition. And there is a kind of like inner knowing that says, I don't know what I'm going to do when the person shows up, but there's an inner knowing that says, have the person be present with you. And then the way to do this will be presented to you. Many times my client come to me with problems that are so gigantic and so astronomical that I don't know how to solve them. There are times when my clients are in session with me, in coaching session, and they come with problems that are so big, I have to tell them, I don't know how to solve the problem, go to the bathroom. Give me a minute, let me talk to God. And then while they are, or go get some tea or do something else, and as they walk and they do something else, all of a sudden, a clear indication of what needs to be done shows up for me. And then a process that I didn't even know existed. And again, it's never, the process never shows up. Let me explain, let me be very, very clear about this. I get a hint of a direction. It's like a sign that says this way. And as I begin to walk the path, the methodology and what I'm supposed to do shows up. And thank God that I record these things, because half of the time I don't know what I'm saying, because these things are channeled live. And as these things begin to evolve, all of a sudden, there's a whole brand new thing that, one day, I think I don't know if it was class or it was with the client. I was with class. There was this thing that came in that was the great exorcism. It was the last thing in my mind. And it came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there was this thing about the Holy Spirit, and the next thing you know, this hour-long thing on banishing archons and removing darkness, and all of these things just. It was not premeditated. I didn't know it before I started. Spirit just said, begin there, and I started trusting. Completely trusting, again, in flow, completely trusting that the universe will walk me through this. At every step of the way, as I went off the cliff, I didn't have a net, I flew. I was floating in here. I wish I was in that state more often. This is what I'm trying to say to you. And the reason for the class is that I'm now realizing, I've been doing a lot of query this week. I'm realizing that I need to return back to that state more and more because I miss it terribly. And there are some lacks that I'm experiencing in my life right now that I should not be experiencing. There are resistance that I'm experiencing, and if I was in that state, they would not exist. So I need to find my way back into it. And part of the reason for this is because this year, 2022, has been rough for me. I don't know about anybody else. Well, I know it's been rough for everyone. I'm not going to be, because I have eyes and I'm an intuitive. I know it's been rough for many. Given all of the climate change, all of the polarization, and all of the social and political and financial things that are happening, inflation, it's been rough for everyone. So, and losses after losses after losses, it's been rough for everyone. I lost my mother. So many things happened last year that are really, that have somehow gotten me off my axis. And I'm now making a concerted effort in 2023 to find that axis back, to reconnect. Because when I'm in that state, I have clarity, I am at peace, and I'm in certainty. Any other questions or comments? Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll do our closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your entire self-awareness emanate from the middle of your chest. It is as if you could see the world experience the world, process knowing, but from that point of your body. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Notice what you noticed. Realize that you can perceive the world 360 degrees all around you. Listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Become aware of any false beliefs, limits, and restrictions that may be holding back abundance and flow. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Sink into the resistance or limitation. Take a very deep breath and listen to it. What kind of information, knowing, and insight is this bringing to your consciousness? In what ways does this limit block flow? what emotional need created this false belief and limitation. By my own device, Lord, I cannot transform this limit and resistance. Lord, take this cup away from me. And I release this burden, this vulnerability, this fear, and this false belief. Into you. Now take a very deep breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through your entire body, dislodging this resistance, false belief, and fear, and let it all move outside of your head and be released completely into source. Surrender and let go. Exhale completely. Allow the healing and the repair of your benefactor to move toward you. Inhale deeply and let a cascade of ease flow. Move into your body, passing through you and grounding into the core of the earth. Take another breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging all residual presence of this limit, resistance, and false belief, and let it all move outside of your body and be released completely into source. Surrender and let go. Take another breath from source and let flow abundance and a connection to perpetual renewal drop into your being, passing through you and grounding into the core of the earth. Take another breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move upwards toward the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging this resistance, limitation, and false belief, and all emotion connected to it. And let it all be released into the blessed field, allowing the scalar invert of this frequency to move into you and ground completely into your body and into the core of the earth. Take another breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging this false belief in all limits and resistance, and release it all into source. Surrender and let go. And let the solution set, the healing, the repair, and the instantaneous and miraculous change and transformation that you need to come to you. Inhale deeply and let it descend into your being, bringing peace, love, and healing. Take another breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging any residual presence and emotions connected to this limit, boundary, and resistance. And let it go completely into source as you surrender all of it. In all of its form, difficulties, now let the scalar invert of God in infinity time infinity unlock and resolve this. And let the equilibrium balanced be restored into your body, grounding the healing and the repair that is needed. Into the very core of the earth. Take a very deep breath from source, from the core of the earth, and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging all residual emotional fears and imprint and resistance connected to this experience. And let it move outside of your body and be released completely into source. And let the healing and the repairs and the instantaneous and miraculous transformation that you need move into you and grounding the abundance, the flow, and the healing that you need. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you. Yeah, that was very effective. I felt a release in that meditation of a long-held program, I guess you'd call it.
Mm.
I might want to ask for a copy of the.
Sure, sure. I'll send it to you tomorrow. Yeah.
Pierre, can you send it to me as well, please?
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, everyone. I want to thank everyone that's listening tonight. For all of you listening to us on Patreon, thank you for your support. For those of you on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. I deeply appreciate you being here with me. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you next week. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Love you all.
Bye.